What's up, everybody? This is the One Nation Podcast 864. You in the building today, and we are with Triveda S. Harris, as I promised you all. And we're gonna talk a lot today. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk a little bit about her background. You know how I do it. We have a good time on here. We joke, we cut up, but most importantly, man, it's all positive vibes. We leave the negativity alone. So with that being said, I would like to introduce y'all to Triveda S. Harris. Triveda, talk to the people, tell them, hey, tell them a little bit about where you're from, and then I'll dive into everything else.
Okay, well, my name's Triveda Harris, and I am from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Born and raised here. Most people think that I'm from somewhere else because they say I have an accent. Don't know where that comes from. However, it doesn't really make a difference. But I am a mother of three, grandmother of two. I am a author, an entrepreneur, and a podcast host myself.
Right, right. And she's a great podcast host. Trust me. I was just on her podcast about 2 weeks ago, I think. We had a good time on there. But it's
Yes, we
something,
did.
yeah, you're right. But it's something you said in there. Author. Now let me ask you this. How long, and I didn't know this until a couple of years ago, but have you always wanted to be an author? Was writing one of your things? I know you used to do poetry,
Yes.
so I mean, did it stem from that or what?
It basically stemmed from there. Like I've always written since I was a kid. Poetry was one of my things that I went to simply because whenever you try to have a conversation with people, sometimes they don't allow you to finish what your thoughts are. And so I
Okay.
turned to writing first because there's no interruption. All you can do is give that person the letter and let them read it without interrupting. And
Got
so that's what I turned to as a kid, being able to express myself.
it. Mm,
And
mm,
so doing that was one of the things that led me to that. And, I would share my poetry on Facebook. And every
right.
time I would do that, somebody would always say, well, you need to write a book. You need to put a book together. And I'd
Mm,
always say, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not going to do that. That's just not what I'm going to
okay.
do. But then my best friend came to me, Latanya Littlejohn, and she was like, I wrote a book. So it's time for you to do that. And I
Okay.
was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm still not going to do that. Now, mind you, she came to me in April of 2019 when she did hers.
Okay.
It was probably, I want to say January the 2nd, actually, of
Mhm.
2020, when I just, put two and two together. I was like, okay, God, I don't really necessarily know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm going
Right.
to put these books, I'm going to put 26 of my favorite poems together. I have no clue on what I'm doing, of how to format a book or put anything together. But if this
Right.
is what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to do it. So I did it. I submitted it on Amazon for
Yeah.
quality publishing and everything. And
Okay.
I'll be honest, it did not look very good at all because, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was only being obedient to what God said to do. And
Gotcha. Gotcha.
so I did that, put them together, didn't like the way that it looked, so I just changed a little bit about it.
Hmm.
Um, and it's right here. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. It don't
Gotcha.
look great. Like the
Hey,
formatting is all kinds of, whatever.
man, it's better than
But
something I put together.
But the thing of it is, it was like I said, I was being obedient to what God told me to do, and also listening to my best friend. And so I was
Okay.
like, okay, this is what it is. And so I never thought anything about it. I ended up putting one of my poems on Facebook. But I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell you something. I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit.
Okay. I'm listening.
In December the 31st, New Year's Eve, going into 2020, I prayed a prayer. And this was my prayer, and that is, God, help me to come out of my comfort zone and connect me to the people that are connected to the destiny in which you have for me.
Mm,
Allow me to be okay with the people that you remove and be okay with the people that you bring forth. And when
right.
I tell you, I was not expecting the things to happen that has happened. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
posted my poem on my Facebook page, and it was titled Black Woman.
Okay.
And I posted that, and then this young lady, Maisha Henderson from
Hmm.
Atlanta, saw the poem and asked me to post it in her group,
Right.
Sisters Empowerment. And so I
Okay.
posted it there. And then that October, she asked me to speak at one of her events. It was a virtual event because, you know, we were still dealing with COVID.
Right. COVID. You're right. Right.
So, needless to say, I've never spoken in front of anybody. This was something I had, you know, not wanted to do. But,
Right.
you know, I prayed that prayer, God, bring me out of my comfort zone.
Right.
So, with that being said, I wanted to say no to this, but
Yeah.
I had already responded. And that was God speaking for me. And so I had responded, yes, okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
Now I'm like, God, now hold on. You don't push me a little too fast and a little too hard. I'm not sure I really want to do this. So I was, you know, preparing for this, and you know, I'm like, Lord,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to talk about, or anything.
Right.
But needless to say, I did that, and then after that, I did a virtual monologue
Hmm.
called The Mask Behind the Mask, and
Okay.
that was with Sheena Gardine. And
Okay.
so when I got cast in that, I didn't have any lines at all, and
What?
I was just, yeah, I was just playing a background character, and it's a virtual
Oh, okay.
monologue as well. So
Okay.
I prayed and I asked God, because the part that I originally had was to be like a mean girl,
Hmm.
and where I was at in my life and where I'm at now, I didn't have the energy to be a mean person. So I was like, God, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But this is, in my mind, it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Well,
Right.
the lady who got cast in the part of Mrs. Motivation is what I ended up being cast in, because that young lady dropped out for whatever reason it was. And
Okay.
so I was like, okay, now I got this
Hmm.
part. So I'm reading the
Right.
part, but it was no words. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just acting out, getting a promotion and getting a new job or whatever. So I'm getting
Yeah.
dressed. That's all it was. And so we're in rehearsal, and she's like, well, you're going to have to extend this part at least 5 minutes. And I'm
Whew.
like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Like,
Exactly.
there's no words. It's just literally acting. So I'm like, oh my God, I have no clue on what I'm supposed to do. So now I got to write lines. I got to figure out what
You had
I'm
to come up
supposed
with
to do.
everything.
Yes. And so I'm like, okay, so I wrote out, you know, a little scene, and, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm just getting dressed. I put a song in there, Corinne Hawthorne's, what is it? Uh Dang it, I can't think of the name of the song right now.
I got you.
Um, but when I do, I'll let you know what it was. But I did that song because it went with the theme of being motivated. And
Right.
so I'm singing and I'm getting dressed, and I'm like, okay, we're doing this part. And the day of the show, I had the worst migraine headache, and I have Chiari malformation, which is a brain
Right.
disorder. And
Right.
so I'm like, God, I have to do this. Like,
Right.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I feel horrible, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to portray this character like I'm supposed to, because I'm
Right.
literally in pain.
Mm.
No one knew the amount of pain that I was in when I did that show. And I'm grateful
Right.
because it was the day after my birthday. My birthday is October the 29th. And so it was the day after my birthday. And so I was able to do that. And then I had to go to dinner with my daughter afterwards, because she was like, we had rehearsal the night before, the night of my birthday. And she was
Hmm.
upset that she couldn't take me out that night. So I'm like, I still have to be prepared and
Right.
have enough energy to go to dinner with my daughter. So I pulled it through, but it was hard. But I'm grateful for them pushing me outside of the comfort zone.
Right. And see, that's something you said when you ask God for something, He'll deliver it to you. You know, it may not be how you think it's gonna come, but it is, because I can contest to that. The beginning of this year, you know, because I had
Hmm.
went through so much, I say, you know what, God, I say, hey, if I can just talk to you one on one, I say, keep me busy, keep my mind in the right place, keep me
Hmm.
working, keep me going. And I can't get mad at him. You know what I mean? Because, you know, like I just told you, I'm tired, but that's what I asked for. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I said, okay, I understand now. I'm putting the pieces together on this puzzle. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm not even. You're right. I asked for this, so this is you delivering what I what I asked for, and it comes to you, all kind of ways. It may be physically, mentally, but right now I'm gonna be real with you, Triveda. It's both. but I'm grateful. I thank God for it, and like you say, I don't know how I get through certain things, but I do, and I guess
Yeah,
that's just the power of the man above. But
exactly.
um, something you just said, and I don't know if you want to dive into it too deep. I could never say that. Kiari, how you say
Yes,
it?
Chiari malformation.
You don't even want to know how I was pronouncing it.
Listen, I have heard it pronounced so many different ways. When I first was diagnosed with it, I said it wrong, and so I had to go and really hear the little phonic sound that you
Right.
do when you don't know how to say something. So I
Hmm.
went and I did that, and so I was like, Lord, whoever's supposed to come up with this name right here, this ain't cool, because people
Right.
don't know what I'm talking
Right.
about when I say this, but to give you a little background about this condition, it's a serious neurological condition that basically like your brain is too big for your skull, and
Okay.
so that we have a closed skull. Basically, you're supposed to have one. Mine isn't. So the base of the brain, it presses down on the top of the spinal cord, and
Mm.
so I give this analogy to where you have a brand new car. Your car is running fine, and then your
Okay.
transmission blows.
Mm.
So once your transmission blows, you can get a new transmission and put it in your car, but your
Right.
car never quite runs the same as it did before.
Right.
So you're still okay, but you still have these little issues. So it causes vision problems, balance issues, it causes tremors, vision problems. Some days my voice is very hoarse, my face swells because I'm in a lot of pain. The weather
Mm.
affects me. I have ringing in the ears. It's a whole lot of things that come with this condition. And
Hmm.
it also affects balance, memory, all kinds of things. And not only that, I had a stroke, which led me
I
to
remember.
finding out I had this condition. And so I call my stroke my blessing and my curse, because had I not had the stroke, I would have never known that this was an issue, because I was having heart palpitations and things of
Mm.
that nature, nosebleeds, temperature problems, like
Mm.
couldn't regulate my own body temperature. So it
Mm.
was just a lot of things that I grew up with, but never knowing what it actually was. And so I suffered with migraines as a kid. And so that's usually
Me too.
what, they thought it was. It was just migraines.
Right.
But a Chiari headache and a migraine, they're two different things. And when you have both of them together, it is
Ooh.
a pain that you cannot imagine, because it's pressure that you cannot relieve. And it's also
Hmm.
a burning sensation at the base
Mm.
of the neck and in the shoulders. So 85 to 95% of the time, I am in pain. Like I am in
Mm.
pain now, but you're not going to know that unless I tell you. And
Gotcha.
see,
Gotcha.
I also lost my speech in 2013 due to a flare up with this condition. And
Okay.
doctors didn't know what was going on, how I was going to, rebuild. And I had a neurologist who told me in 2009 to just get used to not being able to use the left side of my body.
Really?
So, yeah. And so, me being who I am, I told him that I didn't have to get used to that, and I didn't have to get used to him. So,
Mm.
here I am today, and there is no cure for Chiari malformation. There is a decompression brain surgery that they
Okay.
offer.
Okay.
However, with Chiari malformation, it is a progressive condition. And so, with it being a progressive condition, having that surgery, especially over the age of 25, is
Mm.
not beneficial. And I was 30 when I found out I had this condition. And
Okay, that's what I
so,
was gonna ask you. When did you
yeah,
find out you was diagnosed? Okay, I got you. I got
yeah,
you.
I was
Mm.
30. And so, my neurologist, when I left the first one, she told me don't have the surgery, simply because age number one, the recovery time, and it has the ability to speed up the condition and speed up
Mm.
your issues and your symptoms and things of that nature, or you have the option, well, not necessarily an option, but it could keep you in the same state.
I
Now,
got
I have met people who have this condition who's had the surgery
you. Right.
and they have not had success since having the surgery. They can no longer drive. They can no longer work. They can no
Mm,
longer do the things that they used to do. And
right.
so, I told them, I said, listen, I will take my chances, me and God. And
Right.
I believe Him more so than I believe any doctor on what I can do.
Right.
Because with God on my side and in everything that I do, I know that it is all because of Him, because doctors didn't have a clue onto why I lost my speech. I literally went to bed on September the 23rd, actually, of
Mm,
2013. And when I
okay.
woke up the next morning, the left side of my body was twitching. My speech began to be, you know how a person sounds when they're really cold and they're shivering?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how my voice sounded. But then by the end of the week, I couldn't speak. I was using a pen and paper to write
Right.
down what I had to say because it was taking me 10 minutes literally to complete one sentence.
Mm,
And as you can see, that's not like me. I can talk. So that was frustrating for me. And it was also frustrating for my family because doctors wasn't telling them anything, and they
right.
were just saying, oh, it's just a migraine, it's a complex migraine, that's all she's dealing with. But that wasn't the case. And so it was frustrating because my family's used to me being the strong one and just getting up and bouncing back, so they didn't
Right.
know how to help, and they didn't like seeing me in that vulnerable state, but they didn't understand that I didn't like being in that vulnerable state.
Right.
But
Right.
I had to, figure out what to do. And so what I did to get my speech back
Hmm.
is
Yeah. How
when
did
my
that happen?
kids okay, me doing the research that I am, I'm a nerd. So
Yeah.
me doing my research, I found out that when you sing, you use different parts of your vocal cord.
Right.
So I would sing around the house while my kids would be at school so that I could get my speech back. And that's what I
Oh
did.
wow. Oh.
So I'm not the greatest singer, so don't ask. But but that's what I did. And so
Okay.
once I did that, that was what brought my speech back.
Okay. Now that's
Mhm.
now that's I didn't know that. I had to ask that. I'm like, how did you get your speech back? So singing actually brought it back. Now
Yeah.
what? Let me ask you. You know I'm crazy. You know I ain't got no sense. What was you singing around the house? Tell the truth.
Okay. I would sing like the ABCs. I would sing like this one song that I sing anytime I'm gonna sing a little bit of it, and it's just gonna
Come
be
on.
like one little verse, but that's it.
Come
And
on.
it ain't great, but I pray we'll all be ready. I pray we'll all be ready. I pray we'll all be ready when he returns. But that's all I would do. And so I was sing that, but I was sing that and other little songs
Yeah.
around the house until I got my voice back. And so
Yeah.
once I did that, it was like, okay, let me do something else. And so my kids now get a little upset with me because I don't sing as much as I used to.
I
Um,
got you.
and so, because I was just, I sing and clean and do that. But now they get so you don't even be singing to us like you used to. Okay,
They
well, I
missed
really
it.
wasn't singing to y'all anyway. I was just singing around the house, but they get a little salty about that.
I feel you. Now let me ask you, how long did it take for you to get your voice back? Did it take a long time
Okay.
or about a year? Not was it a year or what?
I It was probably about 6 to 9 months because I was also bedridden at this time as well
Oh, okay.
because I could not use the left side of my body.
All
So
right.
it was difficult. Now I was walking with a walker.
Oh man.
Um, when I say I've been through it, and I'm grateful I don't look like what I've been through,
No.
but
No.
I've also had a good support system. My 3 kids have been my
Right.
backbone. My brother
Right.
has been my backbone. My baby sister,
Hmm.
my aunts and uncles, they were there,
That's
and
good.
I'm grateful, because you don't always have that. And when you
You
got a
don't.
praying family, that also means a lot, and so
Yeah.
that's how I was able to get all this stuff back. You know, my kids. I raised
Yeah.
some stubborn kids at the same time and some bossy kids. And so when they start fussing at me, I'm like looking at them like, where you get this from? And they
Yeah.
like, you raised us,
You.
so we had to get it from somewhere. So I'm like, yeah, okay. I ain't really gonna take all the credit, but
Right.
you know, I got you. You know, but
Well, I
that's
feel
how I
you.
was able to get the speech back. And you know, when I lost my ability to walk, when I had my stroke in 2009, I had a
Uh-huh.
physical therapist
How did that go?
that, who,
I know
me
I've
being
been through that.
yeah, so me being who I am, I'm stubborn, and I had a physical therapist. I couldn't like I literally could not feel my leg, and so trying to put weight on it and walk
Mm-hmm.
was not easy. And so the physical therapist that I had, Lord Jesus, bless this woman, I love her to this day, but
Mm-hmm.
she was not trying to hear anything that I was saying when it came down to me saying I couldn't do something.
Mm.
And I'll have one. I'm gonna tell you about this little episode, honey. I had
Go
my
ahead.
therapy appointment, and we're in there. And she's like, "I need you to walk this line," and I'm
Right.
like, "I can't feel my leg, and I don't
Right.
know how much weight I'm putting on this." And she was like,
Right.
"I didn't ask you any of that. I need you to walk this line." I said, "Are you going to catch me if I fall?" She said, "That's what I'm here for, but you're wasting time with not doing what I asked you to do." I said, "Look here, I don't like you." And she said, "I don't get paid for you to like me. I get paid for you to walk again. So I need you to
Mm.
do what I asked you to do." When I
Mm.
tell you, me and this lady, we had arguments because her thing was she told me when I started with her in September, because I had my show in 2009 in August. And she told me,
All
she
right.
said, I started with her the beginning of September, and she told me by Christmas I was going to be walking. And I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, okay, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I didn't see it because I had been, you know, without being able to walk or anything. But the week before Christmas, she
Uh-huh.
had me
What happened?
walking. She
See?
had me walking. She had me galloping, skipping, and everything. And when I tell you, it was because this lady would send me home with these different exercises, and
Yeah.
I was working at the I place in the dormant center,
Okay.
and she would come to my job to
Oh,
see if
really?
I was doing those exercises. And I
Mm.
was like, "Why are you here?" She was like, "You told me how your setup is and what you do at your job, and you have this long counter to where you can walk from side to side using those resistance bands. So I wanted to see if you took the stuff to work like I told you." I said, "Oh my God, you are not my mama. Leave me alone." But when I say that has really saved me, because I utilize those things, and I still have days to where, you know, I
Right.
drop things because I get numbness in my hands and in my
Right.
feet, and it's not like neuropathy pain. So I don't want people to think that that's what it is, because it's not. It comes
Okay.
with Chiari malformation, and
Okay.
so there are days where my hands are numb, my feet will go numb. I get dizzy after walking 20 feet. Now this is not vertigo, so these are things that I deal with. And when it happens, my whole left side goes numb and my arm starts to shake and tremble. Like I had one of these episodes that happened at work the other day, and they got scared and they was like, "Do we need to call EMS?" No, this
No,
too shall pass. So just let me stand here for a
I
minute.
got
Don't touch me. Don't do anything, and I'll be fine. And
you.
so once I did what I needed to do, asked the questions that I needed to ask, and got back to the front, they of course came and checked on me, and I was like, "I'm fine, you guys, don't worry." I said, "This is just a episode." I said, "And the weather's
Now,
changing, so my body's changing, so I'm just having to deal with this."
now, do they? Let me ask you something. Like when you have an episode, do they just come out the blue, or can you kind of like feel like when one is coming?
Now with those dizzy spells and things of that nature,
Right.
I can't tell when they're gonna happen.
Right.
But when I'm about to have like a really bad headache and things of that nature, like I
Right.
really pay attention more so to the weather when it's changing. When the
Okay.
pressure in the air is about to change, like we're about to get really cold weather,
Right.
rain, hailstorms, anything like that, tornadoes, hurricanes, my body feels it first.
Oh
And
man.
so when that happens, I try, but it's not much I can do. And
I got you.
so I just have to endure that pain until the weather, starts to, subside a little
Yeah.
bit and the pressure
Yeah.
goes down, because the pain, when I tell you, is so bad, I want to take my head off and sit it down and just
Ooh.
watch it deflate. But
Ooh.
I can't necessarily do that. So it's like just to endure. So when I hear people complaining, about
A
pain and
headache. Yeah.
and it's like, you don't know pain. And I know a lot of people, deal with chronic pain, but I'm not one to take a lot of pain medication either.
Right.
And I'm grateful for my neurologist also, because when I first got to her, she was like, I'm gonna take you off of all of your pain medications. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, so you trying to kill me? And she was like, no, I'm not trying to kill you. I said, well, I need something to ease this pain. She said, I can't help you completely until we clean your slate. And I was
Okay.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna die. And she was like, you're not gonna die. I'm like, well, that's what it feels like, because you taken away my source of support and I don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
so, having three small kids at the time, I had no other choice but to learn how to keep moving in the amount of pain that I was in.
I
Now,
got
it
you.
was not easy. It was not by far, it was
I
one of the
bet.
toughest things. And so I've learned to operate at a level of pain that would really harm most people. And I don't do it taking pain medications. So,
Because I'm gonna tell you something. You said you touched on this. I get migraines sometimes,
mhm,
and you said it's migraine and that in one.
yeah,
I can't. I salute you. I can't imagine. Like a lot of people sometimes. Now, I tell people this. Like right now, I kind of had a slight migraine. The reason that's why I got my shades on. The light messes with me.
it's right,
So
yeah,
people say, yeah. People always say, I mean, you trying to be cool? No, you just don't know. Right now, this brightness is like really
it's
messing with my
torture,
head.
yeah,
So with you
mm-hmm,
saying both of those together, I
mm-hmm.
salute you, because that has to be a very excruciating
It's
pain.
not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Mm,
And being like yesterday, I was eating
okay.
breakfast. And see, these are random things that happen also. Like,
Okay.
I'm eating breakfast, not really thinking too much of it.
Right.
And instantly, I had to stop eating because I had to throw up. And
Mm,
it was like, it wasn't that the food was bad. It wasn't, that something was wrong. It was just the fact that my body said, okay, that's enough. And
yeah.
you can't swallow what is in your mouth. It has to come out. And
Right.
so I'm like, I was enjoying my food. Like, what you doing? It's like, it's rude. It doesn't care what you got going on, what your plans are. Kiari is rude. And so I'm like, God, no. And so my son was like, what's wrong? The food bad? I said,
Right.
no.
Right.
I was really enjoying it. Now I can't even finish it. Here, you take it. He like, but what I said is nothing wrong with the food.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
body, my brain just said, I don't want that no more. And don't you swallow what you got in your mouth. Like mid chew. That's what it
Oh
was.
man. Let me ask you this. What you was eating?
I was basically eating my leftovers from lunch from when me and my granddaughter had lunch on Friday. So I
Yeah.
was just eating my little cheese rice. That's
And I
all
know you
I was
wanted
doing.
it.
Uh-uh. I was like, I was so hurt because it was so good.
Yeah.
That flavor had marinated a little bit
I
more.
know. I know.
And that hurt my feelings. I was so upset about it.
Hey, that's why I asked you. I said, "What you was eating?" I know you wanted it too. You
I
wanted
did. I didn't even want to get to him. I was like, man, God, dog.
But look, you spoke on that, and I'm glad you cleared that up for me. First of all, how to pronounce it. That was number one.
Okay.
But I didn't know exactly what it was. I've read on it a couple times when you've posted it, but with you
Mhm.
just coming out telling us exactly what it is, like I say, man, I commend you and I salute you. And like you say, you doing all of this, and we're gonna touch on this. You're doing all of this being a mother, and something we about to touch on now. I want to know, how is this, you being a grandmother? So what is that like now?
Um, it's great. It's wonderful in the sense of I get the miniature version of my children all over again.
Okay.
And I love that aspect of it. Now, my kids, on the other hand, say that I have grown soft because the
Okay.
things that my grands get away with, they would
Yeah.
never be able to get away with. So they like, we need that Trivita from back in the day that we had growing up because you
Right.
ain't even trying to do it. I'm like, they not even doing nothing that y'all consider to be bad. So I don't know what you're talking about. They like, nah, because if we was over there trying to touch something over there that ain't in your dresser or your nightstand or in the kitchen, I'm like, they
Right.
just learning how to clean up. They ain't doing nothing to nobody. Mind your business. She taking all the clothes out the basket so she can get in the basket, but she gonna help me fold them up too. So it's all right. It's just the process. No. We couldn't get away with that. Mind your
Yeah.
business. This ain't got nothing to do
Right.
with you.
Right. Right. You're right. I hear it's a difference. I'm not a grandfather. Thank
Right.
God. But
Listen, you got some time. You got some
yeah, I
time.
do.
Don't rush.
And they say, like, I got a partner of mine that has become a grandfather. He's older than me. He said, man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. He say, the things I used to get on my kids about. He said, I didn't let my grandkid do it. I say, what? He said, yeah, I let them do it if they want to do. I
Yep.
said, well, so you the second person. I was like, how does that work? I said, do your
You
kids
gotta
get
experience
upset?
it for yourself.
Right, right. And with you saying how your kids are, I said, yeah, I guess they right. I guess it is
Yep.
right.
Yep.
But
You gonna have
your
to experience it
grandmother.
for yourself.
Now, when did you? Let me ask you this: when did you become a grandmother? Was it what, 2 years ago, maybe? Because I seen you
It
post on
was
Facebook a
no,
little
it was
longer.
actually last year.
Last year.
Honestly, last
Okay.
year because listen, let me tell you, my oldest and my middle one made me a grandma same year, a month
Oh,
and a
okay.
half apart.
Oh, I didn't know. So wait a minute, you're a grandmother too?
Yeah, a boy and a
Wow.
girl.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was just one. Oh, okay.
Mm-mm, boy and a girl. My son had his son first. Well, his
Oh, okay.
girlfriend had their son first, and
Okay.
January the 18th, and then
Okay.
my daughter had her daughter March the 23rd of
Well, I'll
last
be
year.
dog. I just
Yeah,
thought you had one, so you got two. Oh man.
and I got two. I got two. And so I got lucky. And so this is the thing with my kids.
Okay.
My son took me and his sister to dinner to break the news
Okay.
because he didn't know how I was going to act. So, and
Mm, mm,
he was like,
mm.
I need you to be in a public space just in case you won't try, you know. Anyway, but my daughter, she had been to the ER.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I knew she was pregnant before she said anything to me. But,
Yeah.
I let him be grown.
Right.
Anyway, so my youngest son, when I got home from work, he was like, did your daughter text you and tell you she had to go to the ER today? I said, no. So I texted her. I asked her if she was okay. She said, yes, ma'am. I'll send you the discharge papers and let you know what the doctor said. So I'm like, okay. So all that night, I'm waiting for the discharge papers. I don't get them. So
Mm.
the next morning, I text her and I'm like, hey, what did the doctor say? I'm waiting on you to send me the discharge information.
Right.
So
Right.
she sends it to me, and the little diagnosis says vomiting and dehydration due to pregnancy. So I call her,
Yeah.
and so I call, she doesn't answer. So I'm like, okay. I call her again. She still doesn't answer. So I call her a third time and I leave her a message. And I said,
Yeah.
baby girl, listen, I am not mad at you. I'm actually happy for
Right.
you. I said, because
Right.
I already knew. I was just waiting for you to tell me.
Wait for her
So
to tell
she
you.
finally calls me back and she says, Ma, they lying. I said, they not lying. You pregnant. She told me, I don't took 4 pregnancy tests and it all keeps saying I'm pregnant. I said, okay, because you are. She's like, no, I'm not. My uterus don't work like that. I said, it does. That's what it's for. So you're fine. She's like, no, they just lying to me. So she goes to her first prenatal appointment and she texts me and she's like, Mama, it's a whole baby in my uterus. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It is. She's talking about,
Yeah.
nah, I still think they lying. Okay, well, babe, I'm going to buy another pregnancy test. For what? You're
You
pregnant.
wasted money on it.
Accept it. Yeah. But the thing with my kids was I told them, I said, listen, do not make me a grandmother until I'm in my 40s. Now,
Okay.
mind you, with that being said, I was 35, I think at the time, 33, 35, somewhere in there. And they looked
Mhm.
at me, they said, y'all, like, how long we gotta wait? Because that seemed like a long time away. I said, not really. It's probably about 10 years. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh. And I was like, they tell me, well, I'm sorry, you don't look like you that old anyway. So what you want us to do? I'm like, all right. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing or it was an insult at the same. I don't know. But
Right.
that's what they said. It's like we know, but we didn't want to wait that long. But they actually listened. They complied. I was in my
Right.
40s when they made me a grandma. So
That's what's
and
up.
they
That's
weren't in
good.
my house. So
Oh yeah,
can we know?
that's amazing.
Yeah, they
Shouts
wasn't
out to
at
them.
home.
Now look, we done talked about the author, the mother, the grandmother, but I want to swing it back to the author for a minute.
Okay.
Um, is it moving forward? Is there any book you would want to write? Like, is there something you really want to touch on and let the world know about you yourself? Because you've talked about your story so much. Do you want to put it in writing, put it in a book, or is it something you always wanted to do that you be like, you know what? Now I got this. I got this shy thing out the way, and I'm glad you got that out the way a little bit. You know what I mean? So now I can go ahead and do what I want to do. But is there anything else you really want to publish?
Well, I actually have published 4 books.
Right. Let them know. Let them know which books you publish. What's the names of
Okay. The second one I did, and it's basically talking about me raising my kids while having Chiari malformation. The title of that one is called Struggle, Strength, and Success, Chiari Malformation Won't Win.
them? Okay.
The third one I wrote is Overcoming Childhood Trauma, My Journey to Healing. And
Okay.
so that one talks about my relationship from childhood with my mom, my dad, during my marriage, and how my trauma from my childhood affected my marriage and my relationship with
Okay.
my ex-husband. And
Okay.
being able to write that book also led me to being able to apologize to my children in a
Gotcha.
sense of my children have only seen my strength. They didn't see the softer side of me. And
Okay.
that was something they needed to see growing up. So my
Right.
kids think I'm a superhero in some
Mhm.
aspects, and I have to tell them, I just because I look like it's easy, it's not. I bear a
Gotcha.
lot of burdens, and I carry a lot of weight.
Right.
I wasn't raised by my parents. I was raised by my aunts, and um, it wasn't the greatest relationship, but it wasn't the worst either. And I
I
say
got
that
you.
because they did provide me with the shelter and the stability of having a permanent home. But
Okay.
when it came to love and affection, that was not something I received that didn't come with the cost. It's like
Gotcha.
I'll give you everything that you want materialistically, but I'm gonna tear you down mentally. So
Mm,
it was consistently being told, you're not gonna amount to anything, you're not gonna graduate high school, you're gonna, turn out to be a drug addict and an alcoholic just like your mother. So hearing these things all the time, you tend
mm,
to buy into that. And
right.
so it's like they gave me anything that I wanted as far as materialistic things went. But when it
Hmm.
came to saying, I'm proud of you, I love you,
Right.
good job, none of
You
that.
didn't hear
Like,
that.
no, my high
Mm,
school graduation, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up for my graduation. My aunts
really?
who raised me did not
Uh-huh.
show up to my graduation because my cousin didn't graduate. And so it's like, but you guys raised me. But
Right.
it's like, okay, well, you told me I wasn't going to graduate. And so I did. So it's like, I did what you told me I
Ah,
wasn't going to be able to do. So you should be proud that I did it despite. So
right.
it's one of those things where, like I was telling you the other day, like I'm not big on celebrating my accomplishments.
Right.
Now I've
Right.
written these 3 books. I'm working on. Well, actually, I've written 4. The last one that I did is for women. Basically, it's a Queen's
Yeah.
Guide to Mental Wellness and Self Love. And
Okay.
so it's basically like a little workbook as well, but it has um, some tips and some quotes and some affirmations and things of like that nature in there. So
Okay.
it's very beneficial for people to get in there on Amazon, and you can also reach out to
Yeah.
me and get them or whatever. Um, but going through that, it taught me to either, like, I'm not big on setting goals. I won't say that I set goals. I just set my mind to something and I go about
Just
doing
do
it.
it. I
And
got
once it's done, I just mark it off the list. I never take time to celebrate anything.
you.
And
Yeah.
that's frustrating to my kids, for one.
Right.
And I'm like, like I was, when I sent you the bio,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I've done a lot of things and I don't know all of the things that I've accomplished until I'm writing them down. Like,
Right.
there's some things that I didn't even put on there. Like, I'm part of the National Society of Leadership and Success when I was in college. And I
Okay.
also, uh, when I did that, I was the president of the chapter here in Spartanburg at Virginia College before they closed. And so I didn't even list those things on there because it's like I don't, think about all of the stuff that I've accomplished until I start
Right.
talking about it because somebody has asked me. And it's like, okay, well, I've done this, I've been here and
Right.
done that. And it's like, I'm not one to brag on myself. It's just that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna show you that I can, and then I move
Hmm.
on from it. Because don't tell me I can't do something. You tell me I can't do something, I gotta do it because you said I couldn't do it. You
Right.
know?
Right. That's why I was telling you. I was like, look, when you wrote the bio, I was like, oh, she got to celebrate something. I mean, then when you said your son said the same thing, I was like, yeah, you gotta celebrate your wins. Cause my thing is when it comes to that, I used to be similar to like where you are now. I used to do stuff
Mhm.
and you're like, okay, yeah, I did. It is what it is. But it's an accomplishment for you, and you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying. You the only one that can accomplish it. God got you through it. And when I say celebrate, let me slow it down for the people watching. I ain't talking about going out going to Aruba or doing something like that. Just sit back, give yourself a round of applause, pat yourself on the back,
Mhm.
go buy yourself something nice, or treat
Yeah.
yourself to a dinner, or wins like that. And if you can go to Aruba, by all means, that's cool. But I don't know how many people out here that can really do that. But that's why I was telling you, just take time to definitely celebrate yourself because
Yeah.
you set, like you say, you don't set goals. You write it down, you just knock it out, you do it. And I bet if you had to celebrate it, your list would have been about that long and still going, and still going. It would have been a lot you done. Because when I seen your bio, you remember you said, I think I sent it twice. And I said, well, shorten it. And I said, oh, yeah, she got 1,000,000 accomplishments. I said, we're going to talk about this on the podcast.
And I was like,
But
Lord,
definitely,
I tried to shorten it, and I was like, man, I
right.
don't even know where to shorten this thing at because it's like, okay, well, whatever he asked me, we're just gonna talk about it
Right.
anyway and go from there because
Right.
I don't really know what to not talk about and what to talk about
Right.
because some people are just it's the way they hear things. They hear things in a jealous spirit and a jealous mindset, and it's like
True.
I'm
True.
not speaking from that space. I'm speaking
Right.
from a space of what I've been able to do, and you have the power to do those things as well,
Right.
And so I say that to say this: when I was talking about how the formatting in my book did not look great, I had
Right.
people who criticized me for it not being perfect. And
Really?
yeah, and they was like, well, I would have never put my name on that if it wasn't right. And you know what my response to that was?
Please
It's
tell
not
me.
your assignment. So you wouldn't put your name on something that don't belong to you.
Right.
So
Right.
it didn't have nothing to do with you. But the reason I'm grateful for it, and that is because I can see the growth and where I
Right.
started.
Right.
Because let's see if I got the other one. Now this is the second one that I did. I
Okay.
did the
Okay.
cover myself.
Yeah.
You can see the inside. It actually looks a whole lot better.
I got
You
you.
know, And so it looks like it's supposed to, but
Yes.
it doesn't come without work and trial and error. Now, I've also, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I started Wings of Transformation Publishing in
Right.
December of 2021. Now, I've been able to help format and edit books for other people. And
Okay.
so I did one for a young lady last year. We're working on her second one, which I'm going to be part of, and it's called From Their Eyes. And it's
Okay.
basically talking about people who have either been adopted, placed in foster care,
Okay.
who have been raised by family members. So it's speaking of the experience from their eyes. The
Right.
original anthology that she did last year was titled "You're Just a Foster Parent" by
Mm.
Natasha Robinson. And so
Okay.
she had additional like 5 other authors with her on that project. Now, when I tell you, she was my first client who trusted me to bring her vision to life.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for that. But during that time of working on her book, my mother was transitioning over.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I
Okay.
did not know if I would be able to complete her project in the
Right.
timeline that she gave me.
Right.
Now I'm with my mom every day
Right.
and
I
I was
understand.
focusing on that, and I prayed and I asked God, I said, God, give me the strength to finish what I started with this young lady, but also
Right.
help me be present enough to not miss the lessons that my mother is teaching me during this time.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, I was able
Okay.
to complete her project and get it
Mhm.
to her within 2 weeks of the deadline I had given myself, not the
Okay.
deadline that she had given me for her project to be printed and available.
Right.
So I was able to accomplish it. I did it. And it's like, okay, so I have another young lady that I've been, and also she was number 5 on the bestsellers list after releasing that book and last year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
like I was able to help someone else's vision come true, you know.
Yes.
And so that's something I should celebrate too, but I didn't
Right.
celebrate that either.
Right.
I'm
That's
just being
another
honest.
accomplishment. Right.
Right.
You need to celebrate.
And so I've helped another lady. She's part of my podcast team. There's
Right.
9 of us women that's on the Crew Podcast Network. And
Okay.
so I've helped her get her books uploaded onto her account and everything. And so I think so far I have done 4 books of editing and formatting for her. And
Mm.
I take pride in being able to do what I do, and I'm willing to help anybody else to become self-published as well,
Yes.
because I didn't get into this business for the money. I got in it to teach people what I know. And
Okay.
so I want people to learn how to do this on their own,
Right.
simply because everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a story to share with the world. Don't be
Right.
ashamed of what you've been through, because what you've been through is what created you. God
You're
has
right.
instilled in us each and everything to get through what He's placed in front of us. And so, as long as we remember that God is not going to bring us to a place or a situation that He's not already provided the provisions to get us out of it. And I
Right.
think oftentimes we get lost and get so stuck on the situation itself that we don't even focus on God already gave you the solution. Be
Right.
still and you're going to get
You're
through it.
right.
So that's one of the things that I pride myself on, and being, I'm not selfish with information at all. I'm not selfish with anything that I know. If you got a question for me and I know the answer, I'm going to give you that answer. I'm going to help
Right.
you get there. I don't want it to ever be that I've had so much information inside of me that I kept it because I didn't want nobody else to have it. I don't care if you surpass me. That is
Right.
what it is supposed. That's what you're supposed to do. It
Right.
comes a time in this life where that student that you've been teaching surpasses the teacher. That's
Right.
how it's supposed to be. So if you just want your students to stay where they are, what are you being a teacher for? You
Yeah.
want
Why are
them
you
to
even help?
learn and use that information. So that's
Right.
why it's like, whatever I know, I want to be able to give it to someone else.
Right. Right. And you're right. You know, I say the same. I say the same thing about the 4-letter word love. You know, I'm like,
Mhm.
this just something we talked about one time on the podcast. If I got the love for you and I'm just holding it, then what good if it is for you? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I need to share that with you in order for you to receive it, because you never know what a person is truly going through. You never know what's on their mind. And you know, sometimes, and you know, I've heard people say, my heart is too big. Okay, let me say this. Your heart may be too big, because I feel like I have a big heart, but
Mhm.
I'm doing it out the kindness of it. I'm not
Right.
looking for nothing in return. And whatever you choose to do with the love that I give you, if you want to throw it back on me or you want to talk bad about me, hey, that's between you and the man above. I did my job. I gave you what I
Exactly.
thought I was supposed to give you. Now, if you take it and you twist it or whatever, yeah, you know how it is. Sometimes you give people a
Mhm.
little bit too much, they take it, run with it,
Yeah.
and it turns from a positive into a negative. And then you sit up
Mhm.
there and you say, you know what, I shouldn't have did that. No, you should have. Because
Yeah.
now what you've done, you've given them basically the love that you had for them. They didn't take it and
Mhm.
receive it the right way. Hey, they got to deal with God with that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I tell people all the time, whatever, there's no mistake in God creating paths that you connect with people on.
Right,
God makes
right.
no mistakes in that. Everything that God does in our lives is intentional. So,
Yeah,
whatever you go through, whatever person you meet today, tomorrow, next week, next year, whatever,
right,
they were designed to cross your path.
right,
Now, what they do in that time, in that space, that's up to them. Now, if
right,
they decide
right,
they don't like you, that ain't got nothing to do with you. That's between them and God, and let them take
right,
it up with God. 'Cause when people tell me they don't like me, that's your problem. I ain't got
right,
nothing to do with it.
right,
I don't like you, and I'm not gonna lose no sleep over that. You know, when
right,
they say,
right.
well, you just mean, okay, that's cool. That's your opinion. But are you gonna take accountability for what you did and what you said to me? I don't
Right.
think you are. So whatever you did, be able to
Mm-hmm.
understand that if you don't like me, so what? I ain't finna lose no sleep. Ain't no bill not gonna be paid because you don't like me. That's your
Right,
opinion and you're entitled to, and I want you to have it. But I want you to
right,
keep that same energy that you had when you didn't like me. But get to know me for yourself. Don't be basing it off of somebody else's opinion of what
right,
they told you about me,
right,
because that's one thing that I don't think, I don't like that. Don't come and tell me what somebody
right,
told you about me unless you
right.
came and talked to me. Now you gonna see, but you know people do that all the time. They play
And
follow the leader,
I
and it
want, and
drives
I've
me
been trying to
crazy.
figure out, why do people do that? You know what I mean? I don't get that. Like,
I
just because
don't
you
know.
heard this,
It drives
yeah,
me crazy.
man, it don't make sense. I hear people do that all the time. Well, I heard such a, yeah, but do you know that for a fact? Do you know how they truly are. No, not really. Well, hey, you ought to take the time, maybe get to know this
Right.
person,
I
and
say have a
and
conversation with the
right,
person first before
right,
you base your opinion off of somebody else. And even though I feel like we're too grown to be playing follow the leader and all of this
right,
kind of stuff, that's just my personal opinion. You can take it
right,
however you want to, but get to know a person for yourself. Stop linking up with people to hate other people, because it
right,
says more about you than it does about the person that you linking up against. Like,
right,
there is so much in this world that we all are in this space that we can share it collectively and everybody wins. There is
right.
nothing that I'm gonna sit over here and do and say, I don't want to give you this information because I don't want to see you get bigger than me.
And that's
Whatever
crazy.
God has for you is gonna be for you anyway. It's never
Right,
gonna miss you at all. So you
right.
hating on the next person because they're doing what you perceive better than. Oh my God, you don't know what obstacle that person had to face to get where they are. And you
Right.
blinded by that. And I think social media has made a lot of people blinded by what
Yeah.
they see in a snapshot, in a moment
Right.
of time. But you don't know what
Right.
happened 5 minutes ago. You don't know if
Right.
that person was crying their eyes out. Because I will be honest with you, I have been in a space to where I am bawling my eyes out, and
Right.
somebody will call and they need support from me. And I'm like,
Hmm.
God, I don't even know if I got it in me to
Right.
give what they're asking of me.
Right.
And I get through with the conversation, they uplifted and they all good. And I get off the phone and I'm back to balling.
Back
And I'm
down.
like, God, what
Right.
what is going on here? Like,
Right.
I just gave them every little bit of strength that I had left.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, that's what I needed you to do in that moment, because you said provide an answer to why you're still here. And that
Right.
person called you for a reason, because your calling is not done. And I
Right.
will be honest, I have ran away from that for a long time. I still don't know what the necessarily calling is that God has for me, but I'm trying to be obedient and do what He tells me to do when He tells me to do it.
I
But
got
as
you.
I said, I am stubborn and I am hard headed, and I'm going. He knows, because we talk all the time. I know he be putting me on hold sometimes when I be calling. He be like, "Not today. I'm not doing that. You don't
Let me
ask
let
me
her wait.
72 questions." Yeah, he like, you don't ask me 72 questions today. You on hold for the next hour or two. God, look
Right.
here. Come on. I got some questions. I just need an answer. Like, I know a couple of years ago, I said, God, look here. Um, I know I've been on the long list of problems this year. I'm just trying to figure out if I can get on that short list of just having blessings come. I don't want to
Right.
be on the
Right.
long list no more of
Right.
all of this turmoil and this. I don't want to be on that list. I'm just calling
Right.
to see. I'm short anyway. Ain't before 8, so I'm trying to see if I can get on the short list today. That's all I'm trying to do. But you don't want to answer. Okay, I understand. I'm just gonna see how I play out. So that's how I talk to
Yeah.
God. He knows
Yeah.
that the child that He created ain't got a bit of sense whatsoever. I'm gonna find the most serious moment and I'm gonna make a joke out of it, because I've learned to survive in these
Yeah.
situations. Because when it looked the darkest,
Yeah.
there was always that light that was there. And
Right.
this is a crazy thing. I wrote a poem, and I'm not going to read it today, but I will post it. And it was called Darkness. But I'm going to tell you where I wrote that poem at. I was sitting in the hospital in a wheelchair about to get into the MRI machine.
Okay.
And the only thing I could think about was getting into that dark tunnel, but only being able to see the light at the end at
At
my
the end
feet.
of it. Yeah.
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 And so
Oh,
I
post that.
sat in the wheelchair and I wrote the poem called Darkness, and it's actually in this little book right here. So,
Okay.
but God is amazing. I'm grateful for everything that He has done for me. He has definitely made me get out of my comfort zone. I
Right.
do the podcast, and I every single time I get on there, I'm always like, God, I don't know who's listening. I don't know
Right.
who is going to gain something from what we're
Right.
about to talk about, but I'm just being obedient to what you've called me to do. And I'm always nervous. I'm always, apprehensive. I'm nervous now, but it doesn't show, and I'm
No, it don't.
grateful that it does not show. But on the inside, it's like, oh Lord, girl, what you doing? So,
I think
but
I think it's one of those things with you where I think you say you nervous and you shy, but really once you get to going,
mhm,
everything is out the window. You know what I mean? Like with your poetry and everything. And it's just
mhm,
one of them things where I'm like, hey, you gonna speak on it? Like what you say? No, I'm not. I'm not about to do
mhm,
none of that. But you got out your comfort zone with the podcast, and now you're doing your thing. And like I
yeah,
say, I salute you not only for that, but for everything you become and you're gonna become. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And that's one of the things I tell people, like, we don't know where we going in life. We don't. We know where we want to go, but we don't
right,
know where we're going, and we don't know the roadblocks we're gonna face. We know it's gonna be some hard times, but we just didn't know. We don't know the magnitude of them.
right.
And to see you and hear your story and everything you've been through that you've talked about, I can honestly say that you are definitely here. We're all here for a reason, but you just got to look at the bigger picture. You are just phenomenal.
Well,
Going through all this with you've got everything going on. You're being an author, a mother, a grandmother, with the diagnosis, everything, and you still here and you still moving with the podcast. I mean, hey, you blessed. You know what I mean? And one thing I salute you for that you say. You always say, you may be nervous or you're going through something. You don't look like it at all. You don't
yeah.
show it. Me, I ain't gonna lie. You can tell when I'm going through something. But be like, oh, I done had homeboys come over here. Hey man, I look at them. Oh hell, not today, man. I'm like, hey man, look, I'm going through it. But I know what you mean. Also, by you've been in the dark place and you cried your eyes out and somebody
Mhm,
call or something happens and you're there for them, and as soon
yeah,
as it's over, you're back to that place. People
yeah.
don't understand what it takes to do that. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I salute everything you're doing. I'm proud of you. Keep doing, keep pushing. Now, before we get out of here, I want you to tell these people where they can find your book at, your podcast, and all of that good stuff.
All right. Well, you can find me on Facebook at Triveda Harris. You can find my books on Amazon. As I said, the first one is My Poetry, My Peace, My Soul Release. That's the title of it. The second one is Struggle, Strength, and Success. Kiari Malformation Won't Win. The third one is Overcoming Childhood Trauma, My Journey to Healing. The fourth one is called A Queen's Journey to Mental Wellness and Self-Love. It's a workbook and it's a guide, and they're all available on Amazon. My podcast is on the Crew podcast. You can find us on YouTube. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us on Twitch as well, and it's also on Spotify and a couple of other places. Not quite sure where my mentor has us all, but the title of my podcast, as you can see in my caption, is called Believe in the Journey.
Right,
And
right,
my tagline every time before I leave it is this. It says, stay out of God's business. The only thing God needs you to do is be obedient to what He's called you to do. So
right.
you can find me Facebook, Instagram. My publishing business is Wings of Transformation. You can find it on Facebook as Wings of Transformation Publishing. On Instagram as Wings of Trans 21. But it's Triveda Harris on YouTube, Facebook. You can, as my son says, I'm Googleable. I don't know what that. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but you can Google my name, and then my face
Yeah,
is gonna pop up. So, and I
yeah.
also have a YouTube page. I haven't been real active, but I have some videos that are on there, and I shared a couple ones. One talks about releasing the dead weight.
Okay.
One, because we carry a lot of a weight around that isn't for
Right,
us to carry. So
right,
I talk about releasing that. I talk about being your biggest obstacle, because one thing that we don't think about is we stand in our own way most of the time. And so when we
right,
can get out of our own way, we're able to accomplish a whole lot more. So
Right.
it's a few little things on there. So take a look. If you got some questions for me, inbox me, send me a message. I definitely do respond. But I'm easy to talk to. I'm not one of those people that I may have a, as they say, a resting bitch face or whatever. But don't let that intimidate you. I'm easy to get along with and talk to. It's just that my face has, she don't know how to
Chill
use her
out what?
inside voice. So half the time, so she just be loud for no reason, and I be trying to get her tamed and to be on her best behavior, but she ain't really got to where she can be obedient just yet. I'm still working on it, but eventually we gonna get there. I think. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But
She's gonna
anyway,
she gonna get there. She gonna get there. Don't even worry about that. Man, trust me.
but I
God
thank
ain't
you
done with her
so
yet.
much. So
Right,
I
right.
thank you for having me because
No problem.
um, I was like, Lord have mercy. He want me to be on his, and yeah, I don't,
Now
you know,
when I was on hers, she was just popping. Now was you nervous that day? Or was you just
yeah,
nervous today? She's nervous
no,
all the time.
yeah, 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 yeah. It ain't got nothing to do with the space. It's just me when I gotta do something and I gotta talk to people, and it's just like, oh, okay. You want me to do what? Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
Look,
like that.
well, you did great. Put it like that. You did great. And we had a few
Thank
people
you.
salute you on here. You know, everybody was chiming in a little bit. So you did great. And I'm gonna put
Well,
some clips
thank
together.
you.
Yeah, I'm gonna put some clips together, put them out there on social media, you know, and hey, we're gonna roll with it from now. But is there anything else you want to tell the people before we get out of here? Anything you want to say?
Well, yeah, one other thing I want to say before we go. We talked about Kiari malformation. There is
Right.
I reposted the overview of what Kiari malformation is. It's on my page now on Facebook. So if anybody wants a more detailed explanation of what this condition is, it's about, I'm going to go ahead and warn you, it's about 8 minutes long, but
That's
it is
cool.
very detailed to what this condition is and what people like myself deal with on a daily basis. And so
Okay.
September is also Kiari awareness, Kiari malformation awareness month.
Awareness.
Try to
Okay.
say that really fast, it's gonna mess you up. But anyway, it is awareness month, so you'll be seeing me post a lot about different things that are related to Kiari all month. So just look out
Okay.
for that. I'm probably gonna get on some people's nerves. I don't care because I want you to be aware of what people
Right.
deal with this condition. So,
Well,
but outside of
we
that,
you
I ain't
good?
got
So
no.
we gonna check it out. And like I say, I definitely post some videos from this, but you guys can check it out. And like I say, you can find this podcast right now live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And like I said, man, we had a good time today. And I just want to say this is the One Nation podcast signing off with Triveda S. Harris. Thank you for coming on. And
You welcome.
y'all make sure you go follow her and see if y'all can get her to do another speaking engagement. See if she get nervous too. Look at her, look how big her eyes. She know I had to get her. But look,
I
man.
know it's coming.
But we had a great time today speaking with you, Triveda. And I'll be in contact with you soon though about this. You already know. So
Yeah, I
I
know. I
appreciate it.
know.
All right, with that being said, this is the One Nation Podcast Station Sports signing out. Peace, y'all.